السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على محمد خاتم النبيين وعلى آله الطاهرين وصحابته أجمعين والتابعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد. So we were in the explanation and in our series, which is an introduction to Arabic grammar. And we were going through the book Zaharatun Nahu, and we reached the topic of Ma'rifa and Nakira. And before we go into Ma'rifa and Nakira, I just want to quickly go over and have a brief summary and revision on what we've done so far. So in my first episode, we went through the diagram. So the diagram of lafz. And like I mentioned, when I said lafz in my first episode, and lafz means utterance, by the way, and I'm not going to say that anymore. When I say lafz, you have to know what it means. So when I say lafz, I mean an utterance that actually comes with a meaning. Because if you look a tiny bit deeper into grammar, you don't have to go deep to find out that an utterance doesn't always have to be something that's understood. Like someone can say, but then like we won't know, like it won't come with a meaning. Or someone can say, ooh, and it won't come with like a specific meaning, and we'll reclassify that as a lafz muhmal, meaning an utterance that was said, yeah, but it doesn't really carry a significant meaning. But then the lafz that I was talking about in the first episode, it was musta'mal, al-lafzul musta'mal, meaning an utterance that comes from someone who says something in Arabic and it actually comes with a meaning, that word that you've just said, it carries a meaning. So for example, when we say Zaid, that word carries the meaning of someone's name. If I say qa'imun, that means standing. It comes with a meaning. There's a meaning understood here. So I said that a lafz, an utterance, can either be mufrad or it can be murakkab. And I mentioned that murakkab can either be mufid, غير mufid. And mufid can either be جملة اسمية or جملة فعلية. And غير مفيد can either be إضافي or توصيفي. And then I mentioned that the subject of grammar will never ever leave two things. And those two things are أحكام الكلمة and أحكام الكلام. The rulings that are, that come in regards to, individual words, and the rulings that come in regards to sentences and how you formulate them like properly with the proper end cases. And then I mentioned that there are three words in Arabic. So if you have an Arabic word in front of you, it will either be one of these three things. So it will either be an ism, fi'l, or harf. And then I mentioned the signs of an ism, fi'l, and harf. And then, and quickly going through the signs of an ism, fi'l, and harf, I mentioned بالجر والتنوين والندى وأل ومسند للاسم تمييز حصل. And I said that if the word is in jar case, بالجر والتنوين, and if the word has tanween, والتنوين والندى, or if you say ya, if you're calling, والندى وأل, or if the word has alif lam on it, ومسند, or if the word accepts isnad to it. And that's basically just for people who studied grammar before, you understand that. للاسم تمييز حصل, that those specific things are what allow you to differentiate between an ism, fi'l, and harf. And now you, with these signs, جري والتنوين والندى وأل ومسند, with those signs you can now like make the distinction between them, and now you can call this word an ism by using these signs. And then بتا فعلت وأتت ويفعلي ونون أقبلن فعل ينجلي. And then we went through the signs of signs of a fi'l. And obviously the fi'l signs that I'm bringing now are a tiny bit different, but I prefer these signs more. بتا فعلت, and the ta in fa'alta wa atat, and only grammar students will understand this, people who have studied grammar before. And it's just a small note, and then I'm going to get back to the main topic. بتا فعلت وأتت ويفعلي, and the ya of if'ali, ونون أقبلن, and the noon of أقبلن فعل ينجلي, that a fi'l will be on these things. And those are the signs of an ism and a fi'l. And like I mentioned, like if you're completely new to Arabic grammar and you did not understand a word of what I just said in the last 4 minutes, it's totally fine. That was just aimed for someone who's looking for benefit, who's already studied Arabic grammar but is still watching this video. They actually, came and learned something new. Those two lines are very, very important to learn. Like if you're not gonna learn all of Ibn Malik's Alfiya, his 1,000 line poem on Arabic grammar. If you're not gonna learn the entire poem, then learn the very important parts. We mentioned a harf, the signs of a harf, and the signs of a harf are if there are no signs of a fi'l, no signs of an ism, and there's no way that this word is going to be an ism or a fi'l, then it's going to be a harf. And then we went through after doing the signs of a fi'l, we went through ta'dad. We went through ta'dad, and I mentioned how plurality works in Arabic. So it's really, really different to English. In English, you only have singular and you have plural, but in Arabic, you have singular, dual, and then you have plural. And I mentioned there's two types of plural words in Arabic. You have jama' salim and jama' taksir, a broken plural and a sound plural. And now we're going to go into the topic of ma'rifah and nakira. And what ma'rifah and nakira is basically there's a concept in Arabic where you have certain words that are specific and other words that aren't specific. So a very, very clear example I can give is that if you say rajulun, that just means a man. Now if you say ar-rajulu and you put alif lam on the word, then you say the man. So now a better example would be fiddari rajulun, and that means that inside the house is a man. It could be any man. And then after that you say fiddari ar-rajulu, and then you say in the house is the man, meaning you're referring to a specific individual, and it's not talking about any man. It's talking about a specific man that's inside that house. So we're still talking about ahkamul kalima, the individual rulings of words, and this is one of these topics that you have to learn. So for example, ta'dad is one of them. Like I mentioned that previously, that nahwa will never go outside of ahkamul kalima and ahkamul kalam. And the benefit of learning ahkamul kalima is that now when you have a word, what's the plurality of this word? Is it specific? Is it unspecific? Is it ism, fi'l, or harf, and etc. Or is it ism tasghir and many other things that there is to look at? Like for example, is it mudhakkar or mu'annath? Is it masculine or feminine? Is it specific, unspecific? There's so many factors to look at. So now when you master ahkamul kalima, then you can go into ahkamul kalam and how to structure sentences. So this is one of the topics that you learn in regards to ahkamul kalima, to differentiate between a specific word and an unspecific word. We also call that definite and or indefinite. And to be honest, I prefer to say specific and unspecific because it's just easier to understand. And what we end up doing later is that you stop even saying the English terms and you just say ma'rifah and nakira. So you just use the terms to explain the Arabic terms, and then now you no longer need English to explain it because you know what it is. So there's 7 words in Arabic that would be considered to be specific. So these words are specific, and you have to know this because in later chapters of grammar, when you want to put sentences together or add certain parts to a sentence, you have to know sometimes whether this word is specific or an unspecific word. Especially if you want to do a nahwa breakdown of a sentence and you want to understand why certain words have alif lam on them, even though they're not like the main information that's in there, it's just a follow-up word. So now you have to understand why this word is following that word, and sometimes a word might follow a different word because that word is also specific. So this specific topic of knowing whether a word in Arabic is ma'rifah, which is specific, or nakira, which is unspecific, is very important because it comes and it links with the later chapters of grammar. So this is something you cannot not put your attention on. This is very important. You have to put your full focus on this and memorize these 7 words that will be considered to be ma'rifah, specific in the Arabic language. So the first one is a pronoun, and that's known as a dhamir. Dad, mim, ya, and ra. So dhamir, dhamir. And that's known as a pronoun. So when you say huwa, which means he, when you say hiya, and that means she, or it could mean it. When you're using a pronoun, you're being a bit more specific. And that word is going to be a specific word. So huwa is going to be a word that's specific in Arabic because it's a pronoun. And then the next thing we have here is al-alam. And that basically just means a proper noun. And what that means is just a name. So for example, if we have rajulun, that just means a man. But then when we say Zayd, okay, now this is, we're limiting it down. I'm making it more specific. So that's what al-alam is. It's one of the specific words. Now when this word is the name of someone, that's going to be considered to be ma'rifah. And this list that I'm going through, there's 7 the 7 words in Arabic that are considered to be ma'rifah. They're called al-ma'arif as-sab'a. And they're basically, that just means the 7 words that are considered to be ma'rifah. So the second one, I mentioned the first one is dhamir, a pronoun. The second one is a proper noun, the name of someone or something. And then the third thing is it's called ismul ishara. And it's those words that you use to point towards something. So for example, if I say hada and I say this, and I'm pointing and I'm saying hada, or I'm saying dhalika, or I'm saying hadihi, tilka, ulaika, haula. I'm using all these different words that are pointing words. You're pointing to these different things, then these words will be considered to be specific. And they're hada, hadihi, etc. They are all considered to be ma'rifah in the Arabic language. So they're considered to be specific words in the Arabic language. Okay, and then the next thing on their list is ismul mawsul, and they're called relative pronouns. So when you say alladhi or allati, meaning the one who, or he who, and when you say allati, that means she who, or that thing that. When you say these words, they're considered to be specific in the Arabic language. And the next thing is al-mu'arraf bi-al, and that was the main explanation and the main example that I gave. Al-mu'arraf bi-al, the word that's made specific with al, with alif lam. So for example, you have a rajul and then you have ar-rajul with an alif lam on it. So it goes from a man to the man. So any word that you put alif lam on it to make it specific, it is automatically considered to be specific in the Arabic language. And the next one is al-mudaf ila ma'rifah, meaning a word that's basically become part of a possessed and possessor structure in Arabic. So there's a concept in Arabic where if you want to say something is owned by something, you put it in a specific structure, and it's called al-idafa. So mudaf and mudaf ilay, to those students who actually already know what that is. So for example, if I want to say the book of Zayd, I say kitabu Zaydin. So you use a specific structure, kitabu Zaydin. You use a specific structure to show that the book is the book of Zayd. And you use a specific structure to show that someone possesses an item or someone possesses something. So now if that word that's made connected to the one that possesses that thing, and if that possessor of that item is considered in Arabic to be a specific word, then that word that's linked to it will also be considered to be specific. So for example, if you say Kitabu Zaydin, you say Zayd's book. Kitab, the word book, is made linked to Zayd to show a possessive structure. And because Zayd is a name of someone, and the name of someone in Arabic is considered to be a specific word, a ma'rifah, so that means kitab was linked to a ma'rifah word, meaning now kitab also has the ruling and also is considered to be a specific word in the Arabic language. So that's what that means. Al-mudaf ila ma'rifah. Okay. And then the last one is al-mu'arraf bin nida. And that basically means that word that's made specific by you calling to it. So now you're saying, for example, you have a rajul, a man. But now when you say ya rajul, You're calling a man. So you're calling a specific individual. You say, Ya Rajul. And you're looking at this person. You're saying, Ya Rajul. You're speaking to a specific person. Mm. So those are the 7 types. So you have dhamir, you have alam, you have ismul ishara, you have ismul mawsul, al-mu'arraf bi al-mudaf ila ma'rifa, and you have al-mu'arraf bin nida. And to advanced level or students who have had some exposure to grammar already, then this line from Alfiyat ibn Malik is the perfect line to remember. And it's نكرة قابل المؤثرة أو واقع موقع ما قد ذكر وغيره, meaning anything that's not nakira, meaning وغيره, meaning what's not nakira is معرفة كهم وذي وهند وابني والغلام والذي. Again, وغيره معرفة كهم, which is a ضمير, وذي اسم الإشارة كهم وذي, وهند العلم, وابني, which is مضاف, والغلام ألف لام, والذي اسم الموصول. And then he doesn't mention the last one, which is Ya Rajul, and you can just add that on. وَالَّذِي Ya Rajul. You can just say that at the end, just to remember it. So, وَغَيْرُهُ مَعْرِفَةٌ كَهُمْ وَذِي وَهِنْدَ وَابْنِ وَالْغُلَامِ وَالَّذِي Ya Rajul. You can also add Ya Rajul in there. So basically, those are the 7 words in Arabic that will be considered to be specific words. And there's no more tafsil and explanation left in this chapter, except that there's a big note in this chapter, is that this is one of the most important chapters of Ahkam al-Kalima. Meaning now, if you want to use certain structures later on, then you have to know sometimes whether a word you're looking at, the word that you're looking at, is ma'rifah or nakira, and then certain rules of a sentence structure later will depend on whether a word is ma'rifah or nakira. So you have to know whether a word is ma'rifah or nakira, and they will only be those 7 things. So if you memorize them, then in the later chapters you won't ever have a problem with certain sentence structures or certain ways you put words together, because now you know every single type of word that's considered to be specific in Arabic. And now we have the next chapter, and it's Al-Ismul Mansub. And one thing to mention about this book, this specific book that we're doing, is called Zahratun Nahu. This specific book that we're doing, if you were to do this book in Arabic grammar, then and if you did this book and thought this book would suffice you, you're very incorrect, because this book is just going through the main chapters of Arabic grammar, but without any detail. So this book is to just give you the idea that these concepts exist, but you don't know the deeper explanation of all these different things. So for example, certain things might be mentioned in here, but then there's exceptions to these rules. So you have to learn when are these exceptions going to happen? Where, what situations are they? What examples are these certain exceptions to the rules? And etc. Like there's many parts of this book where there's a plain blanket rule, but then it's more deeper than that. So this book should never be thought of as the only book you need to understand Arabic grammar. There's a lot more that you need, and there's a lot more books to go through to have an actual proper understanding, grounded understanding of how grammar works and how sentence structures work, and the proper understanding of Ahkam al-Kalima and Ahkam al-Kalam. To fully understand that, this isn't the only book you need. So now this next chapter is Al-Ismul Mansub, and this basically means the relative noun, and it basically means that when a noun is made connected to something else, and there's a nisbah, a connection between them. So for example, if someone's born in London, then that person can now call himself a Londani. So now there's certain words. So for example, the names of places, names of subjects, etc. That if you add a ya to the end of it, and you add a shadda on that ya, then it will either mean that a person's from this place, studied in that place, may even mean that this person is a master of whatever subject that is. So now I'll give examples, because the best way to do ta'rif and to define certain things is to just give examples. So if I'm born in London, then I can call myself a Londoni, meaning I was born and raised here. And if I studied in Medina and graduated from Jami'atul Islamiyah in Medina, then I can call myself a Madani, meaning like a person who has studied and graduated from Medina. And now, for example, this specific subject that we're doing, Arabic grammar, it's called Nahu. Noon, ha, waw, Nahu. Now, if I'm someone who is a master of Arabic grammar, I'm a grammarian. I've memorized Alfiyat ibn Malik. I've memorized the shawahid for the lugha, and the different shawahid for each rule of Arabic grammar. You've learned usul al-nahu, and you're grounded. You've grounded yourself. You've done takhassus in Arabic grammar. Then this field is your field. Then you can call yourself a nahwi. So nahwi. So the name of Arabic grammar is nahu. Now you can call yourself a nahwi, which means that you're a grammarian. And we know that your speciality, your field is Arabic grammar. Now, for example, you can also say that for sarf, morphology. Now, if someone has grounded themselves in morphology, then you can call this person a sarfi. And the list goes on. Like for all these different subjects, you can say lughawi, sarfi, nahwi. You can say many different topics, and if you just add a ya mushaddad with a shadda on it, then it will just give that meaning that you have a connection with this thing. That's why it's called al-mansub, the word that's giving connection to something. So I mentioned that you can do it with the place that you're born. You can, or for example, sometimes it's not even about where you're born or what you've learned or what you're a master at. Sometimes, like in just free speech, when someone just speaks, we can say that this gathering is a ilmi majlis. So for example, this video is a ilmi video. I'm giving ilm in this video, meaning there's a connection between this video and ilm. That's what I want to say. Like for example, if I'm sat down in a majlis and this majlis is called al-majlis al-ilmi, then that majlis is an ilmi majlis. It's a majlis that has a connection to knowledge, whether it's being taught or whatever other connection you might have with knowledge. You know that this sitting, this gathering, this majlis is an ilmi majlis, meaning it has a connection with ilm. And that is the chapter of al-mansub. And I want to end the lesson here. The next lesson will be about ismu tasghir. There's two more chapters left to quickly and briefly go over before we end our ahkamul kalima. There's also, and by the way, when I say that this book is mukhtasar, it's a very, very summarized understanding of nahu, and it's basically just to be like an introduction. It's just to feed you and give you an idea of what different concepts there are in Arabic grammar. But this is in no way the end result of your grammar. Like this should never be someone's end result, to understand the context, the contents of Zahratun Nahu fully, and that's it. That's all someone needs. Never ever. This book is only to give you the concepts to understand these certain concepts exist in Arabic. And after doing this book, you go deeper into each concept. So next lesson we're going to go through Ism al-Tasghir. And it's those words that are, their forms are changed and they come for different meanings. And then after that, we're going to go through masculine and feminine words. And what are the signs to spot a feminine word? And what is the default word in the Arabic language? We're going to go through all of that. And once we finish those two, then we're going to go into ahkamul kalam. We're going to go through the marfu'at. Why words might have a dhamma, alif, or waw. And we know mansubat. Why words will have a fatha, an alif, or a ya. Or the majrurat. Why certain words will have a fatha, will have a kasra, will have a ya. So we're going to go through ahkamul kalam. Then we're going to go through the tawabi', words that follow others. And then we're going to finish this book. Anything that I said in this video that is a mistake and a shortcoming, then that's from myself and shaitan. Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam are both free from it. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.